serving up a dose of wisdom and humor with a dash of radiance. Welcome to Biscuits Sunshine with your hosts, Callie and Landra.
Hey y'all, pull up a seat at our table for your next serving of Biscuits and Sunshine. I'm Callie.
And I'm Landra. We're delighted you're here with us. We're recording this from Distance 4 Audio Studios in Athens, Greece. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 4. Bame, let's go. On today's episode, we will be examining the topic of connection and belonging. As someone who's made a few international moves, I've often thought about the topics of connection and belonging. It's such an interesting topic, and it definitely extends to everyone, even if you've never left your hometown. As humans, we're wired for connection and long to feel a sense of belonging.
Which is so funny because I maybe think there's only a handful of people who go throughout their lives feeling like, oh, I totally belong. It's something we crave, and yet a lot of us have this experience of feeling like we're on the outside of things, whether that's because we've moved cities or countries, whether it's because we feel like we don't fit in, because we're unsure of something. I think we are, as you said, geared and wired to want to belong, and we crave connection with human beings. So I'm really glad we're talking about this because I know it's important to both of us.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting. I was thinking about spending time with a lot of little kids lately, how you could see it, right? When you're little, and it brought me back to even being on the playground, right? You want to be, connected and doing things what everybody else is doing.
It's a developmental phase. There's this moment where we go from playing alone with toys to finding enjoyment in connecting with other little kids. And so it's a very natural part of being human.
Definitely. Yeah. So you might be thinking, what comes first, like the chicken or the egg? Is it connection or belonging? And really, connection and belonging are intertwined. So connection often precedes belonging. Thinking about connection is more the foundation upon which the sense of belonging is built. So, of course, you know how I roll. I looked it up. I used my Atlas of the Heart from Brene Brown, and this is what I found in there that I thought was really helpful to kind of, distinguish between the two. So connection is more of like the action. So forming bonds and relationships, really rapport building through actively engaging conversation or taking part in activities and shared experiences with others. It's where we feel seen, heard, and understood. Where belonging is the outcome, so it's the overall feeling of being accepted and included within a group or a community. So we often feel like we're a part of something larger than ourselves. It's about having a sense of identity and purpose within social contexts.
I think it's so great that you've defined it because sometimes, especially having lived abroad, you hear people say things like, oh, I don't feel like I belong, or I'm really lonely, I'm not able to make friends. But if connection precedes belonging, I think a great question to anyone feeling like they don't belong is, what have you done to build connection?
Yeah.
It's not like you drop down in a place and all of a sudden you find people who have similar interests, who have similar hearts, who've walked similar paths. It doesn't work that way. And so it's a great reframing for me. Anytime I feel like I don't belong here, well, what am I doing to form connection? And if I've done that and I still don't feel like I belong, maybe it's time to let go. There's a lot of science behind how connection in relationship is a predictor for lifelong health. You said it. People want to be seen, heard, and feel understood for exactly who they are. And that's the link, right, between connection and belonging. It's this feedback loop. How we relate to one another is the connection. It's the pathway to belonging. And belonging enhances connection. I know that we hear a lot about blue zones in the world, and they have one here in Greece, Ikaria. And one of the things that they evaluate these places on, one of the pillars that they say helps more people live past 100, is really strong relationships. This sense that I belong in this place, that this is a part of me, that I'm a part of them. And we hear it about grandparents, right? There's all this stuff around like the more time you spend with your mom, the longer she's going to live. The more that grandparents feel like they're needed. The older we get, the more we need to realize and we need to hear that, hey, you're wanted here. You play a role. It all goes back to connection and belonging.
In thinking about this topic, I also remembered how the former US Surgeon General spoke about loneliness as an epidemic. And it's interesting how, think about the use of technology, how it can feel like it links us. But often, what we're finding, especially the way that the technology is designed, it can often feel like it isolates us more. So, providing almost a false sense of connection. And myself actually kind of went through this whole back and forth with my Instagram. And I realized I've been on the platform for like 15 years. And I'm like, something just feels different for me. And I think living abroad, I was like, oh, it'll help me stay connected to people. But it just started really becoming a false sense of connection. And yeah, so I kind of went through this whole process for myself of like really evaluating, what's important to me, where I feel connected. And more often there was that disconnect. And so I actually took the plunge and just deleted it. I do have it for my company, but personally, I just let it go. And honestly, what it's freed up for me is so much more time to do things more, I think even more in community or find community in a different type of way, or maybe a sense of belonging. Either way, one of those things. I was just noticing it's really starting to kind of hijack and play with that. And I was like, no, it's time for a change there. So I really think a lot about how am I, like you said, being intentional to form connections, therefore leading me to feel a sense of belonging.
I think about it maybe in terms of Facebook groups, right? I'm a member of the group Expats in Athens because I logically belong there. I'm an expat living in Athens, but I don't do anything to engage with the group. If anything, I just like sit there and I'm a voyeur to find the recommendations that people are giving, but I don't comment, I don't post, I don't do anything like that. And so I love how you defined connection and belonging and how they are like one precedes the other. I think that's such an important thing for people to understand.
Right, right. And it's so funny because you said immediately, though, with that, you did have the belonging, but then there was no action. So, how, of course, could you feel connected?
Yeah, and how authentic was it?
Yeah.
It wasn't at all. I remember years ago, maybe 20 years ago, in my early 20s, reading an article about how people are no longer developing hobbies at a similar rate that we used to do. And it was because we have less free time. And this was 20 years ago. So you think about how social media has exponentially increased and how it has taken up more of our time. And so if it's doing that to our hobbies, things that we really love and enjoy, that bring us purpose, what's it doing to our connections? Things that we also love and enjoy, but we have to put work into. It just makes you sort of think, where's the net positive, right? You often don't see that in technological terms because our technology is increasing and evolving at such a rapid rate that it takes 20 years to realize, maybe this wasn't the best thing. And now we're seeing a bunch of countries ban social media for people under 16, which authoritarian states, say what you will, but I don't think that it's actually a bad thing. Does it need to happen at the government level? That's your own opinion. But I remember I had a cousin who had 3 daughters. And when the girls would come home from school, they had computers to do work on, but every single device went in a cubbyhole. They didn't take it upstairs. They didn't do anything with it in the house. And these kids, now they're almost all adults, they have such a beautiful bond with their mom and dad. The connection within that family is so beautiful. You can see that those kids feel like they belong. Now, a whole slew of things went into making that possible, but I think this idea that social media has a very small and narrow role to play in our lives should be something that we focus more on. Like relegating it to just what it is, not this lifeline to the outside world.
Right, right. Yeah, I was thinking about an event that I went to. You actually referred me to it. It was a book launch
Oh, yeah.
here, in Athens. And I had asked a few people and nobody was available to go. And I'm like, I like this author. I'm just going to go. And it was so, interesting to feel sometimes that discomfort of being the one person going. You really have to put yourself out there and introduce yourself. So I kind of pushed through some of that. And I actually literally purposefully did not have my phone on me. I put it away because I didn't want to be that person, right? That also kind of creates like another wall between people. And I met like a handful of people. One woman, we just, started talking, come to find out she's an American living here, an American living further outside of Athens, but close to a friend of mine. So afterwards, her and I had such a good conversation. We exchanged information. I emailed her and gave her my friend's info. They have since gone on a coffee date.
Lovely.
So yeah, I just love that how it was this like, she's such a lovely woman. It was a nice connection. I'm sure at some point we'll kind of talk again. And then also for me, I think I'm that connector. I like doing that for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And this friend that I connected her with, she was new to that community as well. So it's so
Look at you.
I know
Snaps
it's so
all
fun
around.
how that transpired. But I also think about you, and it's how we found each other and how we have grown our tribe of friends. Have been through those putting yourself out there,
Mm-hmm.
and in that finding a sense of belonging. Of like again, even offline, we are expats living in Greece. And so, yeah, I was just thinking, like, what does connection feel like? And for me, it just like energizes me. It's like a hard to describe, like energetic, warm, fuzzy feeling inside. Like probably it's the feel good hormones, right, that are being released throughout my body. I'm thinking as well.
Dopamine?
Yeah,
Oxytocin?
serotonin, maybe. Yeah. I'm not a scientist, but yeah, some chemistry is going on internally. How about for you? Is there anything else that you find? How does connection for yourself, how does that feel?
Same. I was going to say warm. It feels warm to me.
Mm,
It like tingles in the places in my soul that I know light up when I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
for sure. And I think it's interesting, like what has always drawn me to cultures outside the US, the ones that I feel most connected to are that sense of community,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so having had been away for a few months in the US, and when I was gone, people were like, "Oh, what do you miss about Greece?" And of course, there's like many things, but top of the list was like, I miss my community. And I meant like in my neighborhood. And it's those places where I feel, again, seen and missed. Walking by my butchers, my pharmacist, I've mentioned, going to my yoga classes. And then upon returning, I think that's where I felt then the belonging. Oh, welcome back. We missed you. Hola, kala. How's everything? How's mommy? So that to me, again, just feels so great to like feel like a return.
It's such a wondrous feeling to be accepted by a community or a group of people, to have the reward of putting yourself out there and actually making genuine connection. I find that the relationships I've built here with our group of friends are unique because we have all walked such similar paths in life. It's not like finding someone who goes to the same university as you or finding someone who works in the same field as you. Our group of friends, we've all made this one decision to step outside of the norm. We all know intimately how scary that decision can be. And so I think it automatically sort of formed a bond between us. And then we are so intentional about nurturing that. So these connections and this place of belonging that we've been able to carve out, it doesn't just happen. It takes work. It takes nurturing. We talk about growth and sowing and reaping. And I think we are constantly in that phase, right? We're constantly sowing into each other. We're constantly reaping the benefits of the connection that we nurture. So I have fewer friends, let's say now, but I feel a strong sense of community in Greece. And maybe it's something I've been searching for my whole life. I have felt this one other time in my life when I had just moved to Atlanta. It was 2016. And I joined a group of young adults at church who were trying to bring back this sense of community within the church for people in their like 20s and 30s. And I made some of the best friends ever through that experience because we were all searching for that connection. And joining the group and being on the planning committee and creating this beautiful experience called Connect Conference. It's called Connect Conference.
Ah, I love that.
Remember when I threw that name out there thinking, no, it's not going to stick, but it did. We were all seeking that. And it just showed me how it's a universal human experience. Because now, let's say we're 10 years later, we've done a conference every year. I stepped away about 5-6 years ago. So kudos to everyone who continued on and helped it grow. It taught me a big lesson how it isn't, oh, I don't know if I can make friends. It's just being brave enough to put yourself out there because we all want connection.
Yeah, and I think about there's different phases in life, right? Like sometimes you might be in the same, you haven't moved, right? And maybe you're like, God, something feels like it's missing. So it's good to kind of search internally, like, what is it, right? And sometimes it doesn't mean you need to make brand new friends, but it could be like going to this event with like-minded people that are there for this thing, be able to chat about whatever it is. So yeah, it's interesting, the connection. I think you and we talk a lot about like our signs, our air signs, and this is kind of who we are. We are natural born connectors. And yeah, it's just so interesting. I think about where it might not come natural for some people, and so you kind of have to, pick and choose. And I would say if it's not something that comes natural to you, but you are craving connection, like look for those people that you do know, maybe that are good at doing it. And then how do you tag on to that? Like go visit, with them. Like, yeah, I have this event that's happening. I know for me, I'm always kind of searching for events that are going on that kind of draw my attention. And of course, I like to bring other people with me. So, sometimes it might be that person's a little bit more introverted. And sometimes it's just going to events that maybe you are not connecting with other people, but you are being a spectator. I guess I'm thinking like a concert or a play or something where you still can feel a sense of connection with all these other people watching the same thing, and you're doing something out in community. So there's many different ways I think we can kind of find a sense of connection.
One of the things I think you and I are great at is we are connection compadres.
I love this term, connection compadres. Is this a shirt? What
I
is
think
this?
so. I'm thinking of the swag right now. But we are the types of people that recognize how it's not natural for some, especially if you're more introverted. Look for connection compadres. Look for those people who will reach out to everyone and bring them into circle for conversation. If you are more introverted, you get to benefit from that. And you don't have to put yourself out there, but you can still reap the rewards of it. It's important for connection to come in authentic ways. So if it doesn't feel natural, connection compadres are important. But also, I remember when I was on the dating scene and people would say, oh, just join a hiking group or start to play pickleball. No, there's a squash. There's some game that everybody is playing now with like a ball and something. Is it pickleball?
Yeah, pickleball is like the rage.
I just saw an event, like a pickleball for singles. And my response to everyone is always, I hate hiking and I really don't enjoy pickleball. Like, how is that going to be an authentic place for me to belong? I want to find people who have shared interests with me, but it just so happens that painting and pottery and musical theater are female-dominated stuff. So I found great female friends, which I'm grateful for. But you have to really think through what's authentic to you when it comes to connection. Is it a place you want to belong? If I'd gone to a Monday night football, I don't even know what day they watch football. Like a Monday night football club.
Monday, Sunday, usually day or afternoon, and Monday night football.
Learning something new every day. But I think I would be miserable. I could get through a couple of days of that, but then it's just not my thing. So be honest about the things that you enjoy and be willing to put yourself out there to enjoy them with other people. Also, find your connection compadre. Because when you are authentic about making connection, I think that's when belonging comes.
Correct.
It doesn't come if you're just like, oh, I got to do all these things because it's what people are telling me to do, or I need friends, so let me join the art critics group that meets on Thursdays when you maybe hate art, or the museum docents club when, if you're like me and you're not a big fan of museums, it's just not an authentic place for me to belong.
That's right. Because connection is like what you're putting in, but then the outcome long term is that feeling of being accepted is the belonging piece. So yeah, you are totally okay, what I'm hearing, of not being part of the Hikers Association or the Pickleball Club of Alabama. Yeah. So, okay, let's switch gears now. Let's talk about belonging. Where do you typically feel a sense of belonging?
When I'm surrounded by like-minded people. And like-minded doesn't mean similar, because I think I have a diverse group of friends. I have a diverse set of interests. It just means that we share certain key foundational values. That's, for me, the biggest place for belonging.
Yeah, for sure. And, elements of belonging too that I didn't point out earlier are, feeling like you are an integral part of a particular group. You're still recognized for your own individuality.
Yeah, that makes me think back to the Connect conference and how I had such a big role. It played a big role in my life, but I also had a big role in helping it get off the ground. And it meant so much to me to be able to help something and like steward something and really
Mm.
shape something, because I was in this role given the experiences and the talents that I had specific to communication and marketing. So it was exactly a perfect example of what you just said.
I love that. And I also was thinking how interesting belonging could be something that we get signals from other people, but also internally what we can be saying to ourselves, right? If we can be like, I don't belong here. And even
Mm.
though we might, so it's just interesting thinking about our own mental state around something. And if we are thinking we don't belong, how we might be trying to gather evidence that we don't belong.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really interesting, right? It's not as straightforward as we might think.
I can think of another example in my life, more sort of personal relationship, where I remember a strong sense of thinking, I don't belong here. But then when I was honest about what I was feeling with myself and then with my partner and talking through the insecurities that I had, nothing about the situation changed. And all of a sudden, I felt like this was my space. This was my place. And this is where I was meant to be. And so I think it's very important for us to be honest about where we are mentally
Hmm.
when it comes to belonging. We talked about this when we were talking over the scripts and what we were going to record today. In my astrological chart, Pluto has a place of prominence, and it is the planet of too much and not enough. And for me, I can think through my life and have felt these feelings multiple times at different ages and different groups. And through the lens of what you just said about evaluating your internal state, if I'm feeling too much, too loud, like I take up too much space, or if I'm feeling like I'm not smart enough, or I'm not creative enough, or I'm not funny enough, age has shown me that I have to figure out if that's accurate or if that's the evidence I'm looking for to prove I
Mm.
don't belong.
Hmm.
Because there are some spaces where I remember this one time, my grandmother, God rest her soul, took my brother and me to play golf. I quickly learned golf was not my sport because when Nico was up to hit the ball and did something good, I cheered for him, and my grandmother said, "No, we don't cheer." A bit too loud, a bit too big for that sport, a little too much space to take up. It's just not my place. So there are areas where maybe it's not your thing.
Hmm.
But if you're feeling this sense of I don't belong, it's important to be honest with yourself, to identify if what you're feeling is accurate or if it's coming from you internally.
Hmm. You know what's interesting? I was thinking about this. There is something in my chart too. I do have some connection with Pluto, and I don't remember it in as much detail as you do, but I do remember our astrologer, Rebecca, asking me about, is there something around not belonging? And I was like, I don't think so. And so I have the connection piece there. I'm always looking for a connection. I love that. And then I was thinking what it got me evaluating my life about belonging is going back to, I was thinking like high school is where I first went back to and how I can truly say I was never part of one group. I kind of had been a part, I would be able to say I had many friends in many areas, but you couldn't pin me down as like, she's the preppy girl, she's the popular girl, she's the nerdy girl. Like I never really was in, I guess I just didn't self-identify. And I don't think anybody ever told me what group I was in. And I think how funny it is, like in my travel pursuits, I love being a little bit of a fish out of water and trying to figure out how to navigate to fit in or to kind of find the sense of belonging, even though I truly know that I don't 100% belong, but I'm always trying to find a way to belong somehow. An example I can think of in Argentina when I had my host family. And they were like, they just said something one day, like, you're so different from other students. You're so different from other Americans. And I said, oh, investigating, we talked about my Portuguese side. And I'm like, oh, we're big, we're loud, we touch, we hug. And they're like, oh, that's it. You have the Latina inside of you. And so, there's nothing better than them like giving me that blessing of like, yes, you're one of us.
Totally.
Clearly not, but yet they like saw some like, it's like the Venn diagram. They saw some overlap in those things. And then here in Greece, like I know I'm never going to be Greek, Greek by association. But it's so lovely when I can talk limitedly to somebody or people just to treat me as though, I don't know if they know I'm not Greek, because I guess just by looking at me, some people say I could pass. But just, converse with me, act with me as if I am, or, identify, oh, no, you're from America. But they still have this warm connection with me. So it's like there's different, I guess, like a sliding scale of belonging. Now, whether or not that person would say, you belong, but it's like it was more of like a how I felt about the situation. Then you and I have talked about where I think it's important sometimes to be in spaces and places where you don't belong and you are, say, the minority, and how that might feel in like levels of discomfort. Because as two white women in the world, women, obviously people are going to look at us and go, you are white. We talked about like feelings, right, are different about this. Anyhow, we'll get to that too. But there is something where it's a character building. It's like empathy building. It's compassion building to be the other. Yeah.
I think it's a valuable experience for somebody to feel the sense of what it is to be a minority. Because we did talk about this, and I think the majority, people listening to this are going to think that I'm insane. But for the majority of my life, I didn't grow up identifying as white in the sense of like white culture. Because clearly, skin color wise, I'm white. But then you ask my minority friends and they're like, girl, you're not white. Like there's so much that goes into this construct of race. Like what is a race? Anyway, that's a bigger question than today's podcast. But I do think it has this sense of like identity, a sense of who you are and what makes you unique. Because my whole life have identified with being Greek. In the South, if you're a little bit different, they treat you like you're a lot different. I will never say that I know what it's like to be a minority. But I do believe that culturally, I felt like I didn't subscribe to what was mainstream. And so that gave me a perspective that allowed me to at least be open to understanding that not every American is living the American dream. I think being willing to explore this sense of belonging and connection. For example, you can grow up in America and not feel like you belong. It's important for all of us to face these questions because it in some way forces us to examine our privilege. It forces us to understand what it's like to be someone else. And I think those exercises only make us better human beings who are open to connection and belonging from areas and from cultures and from people who may look nothing like you, who didn't grow up like you, but who share something with you that is important and needs to be acknowledged. And that's humanity.
We've been sharing so much about, how we find it, how it makes us feel, but also thinking about how do we, when we are part of a group, how do we signal or reach out or let others know that they belong?
Are we giving what we have received?
Yeah.
To whom much is given, much is expected.
Thinking about the next time I'm at an event and I see somebody looking like a little lost or by themselves, like how might I take the initiative to introduce myself and to bring that person, into a conversation? That's just kind of one example I'm thinking of.
It's that phrase you hear in corporate culture, be the mentor that you needed yourself.
Oh, I hadn't heard this one, surprisingly.
It's like just be aware of the experience that people are having because it's very similar to yours. It's like we all climb the ladder of success, right? And the people who make the most impact are the ones who reach back behind and pull others up.
Yeah.
I think these people remember what it was like to struggle to make their way up that ladder.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really respect those people who can create a place for belonging. Because sometimes you grow up. I mentioned it earlier. You can be born in America and not feel like you belong. And so sometimes a place has to be made because it's not automatically given to you. And I think the people who do that deserve acknowledgement and praise and kudos because they're making space for everyone, for more people to feel a sense of connection and belonging. Hopefully, in a small way, this podcast is a place for connection and belonging because you identify with the things that we're talking about and they resonate with you, and it makes you maybe feel less alone, and it encourages you to think about life and to live in a way that is authentic to who you are. Because the more we all do that, and the more we all are honest with ourselves and with each other, the better the world becomes.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a tiny world that's just your neighborhood or just your house, or whether it's a world on a massive scale, all of that is of benefit.
So sta, sister. Exactly, girl. We hope this week you're able to be more honest with yourself about where you're lacking in connection and belonging. Make a plan, find a connection compadre, and find a place where you want to explore belonging.
If you love what we're serving up, be sure to subscribe and rate us on your favorite streaming platform. We're proud to say you can now find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and YouTube.
Head over to Instagram and give us a follow at Biscuits and Sunshine, all spelled out. And we'd be so honored if you share this podcast with a friend.
This is Biscuits and Sunshine with Callie and Landra.